You have items in your craft stash that are neglected and unused, but you can't bear to get rid of them? Welcome to Use It or Lose It, a weekly YouTube series where I'll dive into the products that you have lying around in your craft room and the products I have lying around in mine. After I've created something, I'll decide if I think I'll use it again or if it needs to give up that precious space in my stash, and I hope you'll play along. Hey there, it's Jen, and I'm here to bring you another episode of Use It or Lose It. This time we're talking about using pocket page cards, Project Life cards, or from any other company. And so I wanted to show you, before I get started, a little bit about how I put this together. So I am just going to choose one of these piles, but each one of these piles is there are a bunch of cards that go with some photos that I pulled out. So I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to create, and a lot of times the cards that say stuff on them help me to decide what kind of story to tell. So what I did was I pulled out 5 different sets of photos, and then I went through my cards and kind of just piled them up with what they matched with and with the phrases or things that went with each set of photos. So this is a great way if you want to make some kits and get some of your cards used up. Pick out a few sets of photos and then go through your cards like I did. So I'm going to show you these one at a time. I'm only going to create one of these layouts, but I may keep these things together so that I can create more and use up some of these cards. So let's take a look. For this particular kit, I have this photo of my niece and my nephew playing on the piano at my house. And so they're just so cute together. Zuri loves Wes, and he's just a little bit older than her, and she just follows him and hugs him, and he gets a little bit annoyed with it, and they just have a funny little relationship. And so what I did was, as I was going through my 4x6 cards, I pulled out the ones that I thought kind of matched with it. So this one says bonding time over and over, and I thought that would be cute. You bring so much love to life. I thought that would be cute as well. So there's things on the fronts and backs of some of these. And what I'm looking for, again, is a pattern, which can go with anything, a phrase that coordinates with the photo, or something I can cut out. This love card was really cute. I thought it would be cute to like kind of layer it like this. So I thought that would be fun. And then this card is just one that I threw in after I pulled a bunch of other colors together. So I'm also looking at the colors in the photo. So there's this one, which is good for journaling. That one too. So there's more cards than what I would use in here probably. I thought this little My People I could cut out if I wanted to. Current mood, I thought that was cute because this made me super happy. And then there are also just patterned cards. So there are some that just have stripes or just have plaid, because I like to use those for layering. Thank you for being you, I thought was a cute little phrase. No day like today. Hooray, I thought I could punch that out. And then these little this little kind of raindrop pattern. So as I was pulling things, I pulled in the colors that matched with the other things that I brought in. So this is not the layout I'm going to create today, but I wanted to show you kind of how I did this. So let's go to the next one really quick. This one is a photo of a quote that my daughter wrote on a rock. It was really sweet that she wrote it. It says, "An entire sea of water can't sink a ship unless it gets inside the ship. The negativity of the world can't put you down unless you allow it to get inside you." So it was just sweet that she wrote that down, and she told me that she didn't want to forget it, so she wrote it on a rock. And so I have a bunch of cards in here that are like just really awesome, and like I want to just point out how cool she is, how much I love that. So there's one yes there. There's this one which says yes, so totally so awesome, and I thought that one would be a nice one to cut out. Then there's just some pattern cards. This one says yes as well. Patterns. This one could match with anything, right? So I just pulled some that I liked and put them in here. And then this one, which is just plain that you could journal on. So that one was an easy one. Black and white photos. You can find a word or phrase card that works with it and then just pull colors from that. Okay, let's look at another one. This one's a fun one. So these are a couple photos of my daughter and my niece at a school carnival. And so they're bright and fun, and I wanted to pull out some bright and fun cards. So these ones are from Freckled Fawn and Allie Edwards, and I think there might be some Ellie Studio. But I just kind of pulled some different cards that I thought would go with it. And especially this one, then I kind of played off these colors for the rest of it. So there's some yellow and some mustard, so I would probably choose one or the other. I thought this one was a cute one with the camera. I could just cut out the camera and use it, or I could cut out around the circle and use that. This is just another one for just writing on. Some hearts that I thought were cute. These are from Pretty Little Studio. All of these ones are. So I thought those would be fun to use. I love these little kind of paint splatters, and I would maybe cut out of this and put it in my layers for the card. Oh, here's this one as well. So that's what I pulled for this particular layout. And again, you'll notice there are some things that I chose that you could cut out, some that would be great layering pieces, and some that would work well for journaling. All right, let's look at this one next. So this is a time when my daughter and I went grocery shopping. We just had a little list here, and she asked me if she could have half the list and shop for herself. She wanted to just get all the items on the list and then meet me at the front. So I kind of kept a close eye on her, but that was a fun little story, and I wanted to tell how awesome that was. So I pulled out this card that says amazing, and I thought I could hand cut around that, and that could be part of a title. Let's look at all the 3x4 cards. So this is one that says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I thought making a shopping list kind of matched with that, and I could just cut this off right here if I just wanted to use that as an element on the page and not write on this. Big step, I thought the same thing. Hello, sweet, brave soul. Things like this, I think about cutting down and then placing it behind the photo, or I could use it as a photo mat. This one actually I don't really think should go with this. And then super good times, which I thought was nice. So, and then I have a bunch of 4x6 cards as well. So again, some patterns, some things I could cut out. This one again I thought could be a good layering piece. This one I thought I could cut out the circle. This one's just a pattern. Punch out the circle. This one has a bunch, just I pulled everything that kind of matched. Ready, set, go I thought was perfect for this. Let's do this. So all sorts of phrases that go along with my photos. You've got this, growing up looks like this, some more numbers, and then these are from a paper pad, but they're 3x4 as well. Today's goals, here I go, and here we go, and then this was a great idea. So again, if you pull the photos out first, it's easier, I think, to go through the cards and think about what would go with what, or look at a card and then find some photos to go with it. All right. Last but not least, this is the layout I'm going to be creating today. So these are a few photos of my daughter holding my niece Zuri, and she just snuggled right up to her, and she's just so cute. This little face right here makes me laugh, and Millie looks so grown up. Anyway, so I wanted to pull out things that were like kind of sweet, or that I could write about. Details I thought would be a good part of a good title, or I can use the back, which is just a pattern. And the back, you'll see as I pull out the other cards, I kind of have a color scheme going on that I pulled from her shirt, that bright coral, and then I added in some aqua because I love that combination. So I think that these cards can work well together if I wanted them to. So the ampersand, because there's two of them. This one just says this story is a gift, but I liked the pop of black in here because they've got this little black and white throw behind them. Love this view because I do. It's so cute. So I thought maybe I could cut these out or cut this down. I hadn't decided on that yet. And then this is just another pattern. And then this one I would use just for the pattern as well. And then for the cards, I have some that I could punch out. This one I thought I would cut out these and make little, not journaling strips, but cut these into little black strips, and I could put them wherever I want on the page. This one's just a journaling card. That's just a pattern, a pattern. I thought the hello today could be cut out. Pattern, pattern. This one could just be a pattern, or I could punch out the little cameras. I used this for another video recently. I'll try to remember to link it below, but I did punch them out. There's another pattern. This one could be for journaling or just for layering. You plus me I thought was cute. Picture perfect, such a happy moment together. I thought I could cut that strip off, or I could use the journaling. And then this one I thought I would hand cut out the little flowers. So again, there's a variety of manufacturers for these. I don't have any Project Life cards that are rounded corners. I do purge my Project Life cards frequently, or my pocket page cards frequently, because I get new ones in each month because I subscribe to Ali Edwards' Story Kit. But I wanted to just really quickly show you what I keep my cards in. This is a little, I don't know what it's called, but it's a little, I think it's in the bathroom section at IKEA. They're little wooden boxes, and they have lids too. I keep other things in the lids. I'll just show you one of them. So I keep some clips in this lid. Anyway, so this is all that I can have. So if these are full, I have to get rid of some if I want to put more in. And in the front of this, this is actually mostly chipboard that's from the story kits. But these are all cards, and I have them separated. So I have mostly Ali Edwards, Ellie Studio, and then other. And same with the 4x6 cards. So just wanted to show you that quickly, and I will go ahead and get started on the layout now.
So I started with the background paper. This is an older paper from the Maggie Holmes Shine collection, and I'm playing around with my photos now, trying to decide what I want to do. I really love this craft colored card with the white on top of it that says "Love this view," because I really do love that view. So I thought about using that, and a design that I often use, and I'll show you some of these later, is where I put the cards and the photos in a line across the page. So that's kind of what I was thinking. And right now I'm cutting out that floral piece that I mentioned I wanted to fussy cut, and I already cut out the word details. I'm just using some micro tip scissors from Close to My Heart. I like to have a nice sharp pair of fine detail cutting scissors. And so sorry I'm a little bit out of frame there, but I want to put that floral cluster in between the photos. I already know that. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking some of the 4x6 cards, and I'm just kind of layering them up underneath the photos. And what I want to do is create a photo mat. So even though the photos are a little bit larger, I can create the mat by just creating these messy layers. And I cut one of the 3x4 cards in half and stretched it across so it looks like one big piece of patterned paper, even though there's just a little bit on each side. So there's going to be a lot of cutting, like fussy cutting kind of, on this layout, because I think one of the funnest and best ways to use these 3x4 cards and thinking out of the box is to fussy cut some things out. So I cut out that title that says One and Only, and then also that circle that says Awesome Memory. And now I'm punching out some circles from some other cards. This is the little camera card that I'm using now. And then I used my 1-inch punch to punch out the word hello today from another card. And as I mentioned, I was going to cut these little words into strips, and I like doing that too. If there's a quote on a card that you really love, but the card seems a little bit boxy, try cutting out the words and using them that way. It feels a little bit more, I guess a little less boxy, a little bit more freeform. Now with these cards that I'm using that are all square corners, it does tend to get a little boxy anyway. And I'll show you some pages at the end that use rounded corner pocket page cards, Project Life cards, and they give a softer look. So you could always round the corners if you only have square corners. But I don't like rounded corners in my Project Life album, but I do like them on scrapbook layouts. So just something to think about there. So I'm kind of thinking now that I'm going to place my photos and cluster on the left-hand side and scatter some circles up and down. And so that's kind of what I'm doing here, is looking for some different circles that match my color scheme. And for right now, most of all of those embellishments that I have are just cut from journaling cards. So here I'm adding in a few other pieces that are just some chipboard pieces that I have in my stash. And these are from Ali Edwards mostly. And I'm trying to find something in that aqua color, because I have that Hello Story circle at the top, and I don't really have anything at the bottom. I punched one out of the striped paper, but I feel like I want it to be more designed than just a punched piece of pattern paper. So I'm looking around for something like that, and I'm going to go through my stash and see what I can find. And I found a sticker, but it was a vellum sticker, and I didn't want it to be transparent. So I put it on a piece of white cardstock, and now I'm cutting out around it, just leaving a little white border, because if you can see, the one at the top has a little white border as well. So I was trying to kind of mimic that. So now I'm going to play around with the arrangement of the circles, and that awesome memory is going to be the largest circle. There, I found a couple of chipboard circles that I'm going to use, and now I'm going to kind of start gluing down my layers because I need to get this part situated before I can start putting the circles on. And I decide at this point to create a little photo mat for my photos. So I'm just mounting them on some white cardstock with a really thin border. I often print photos with a white border, but when I don't and I decide I want it, which is almost always actually, I'll go ahead and just use some paper that I have on hand to mat those. So now I'm just kind of playing around with my layers again, trying to decide how I want the black to go. I want it there to be a little pop of that. And then I'm putting a pink card underneath that. So I've got the three different main colors, pink, blue, and black. And there's going to be that pop of darker aqua and the pop of the kind of bright coral color. So at this point, I'm trying to decide if I want that striped card. I decided not to use the green striped card because I wanted to add in some I really liked the way that this tan striped card looked. It kind of blended into the background, which but it stands out enough for you to tell, but it's blending in a little bit. So now I'm arranging my my stuff on my layout. I keep going back and forth between the details title and the one and only title. And I actually really like both, but in the end, the one and only wins just because I wanted that pop of that reddish orange color. So I'm kind of playing around now again with the circles. I'm going to overlap a few of them, and I'm just trying to get a good balance of color. And I decide to keep the circles to the left of the title, so they're just kind of going up and down that left-hand side and not to the right of the title at all and not towards the right of the page. I'm going to put journaling below my right hand photo, and so that will go there, but other than that, I'm keeping it mostly to the left side. So I will play around a bit with these and fiddle with them, trying to get the balance right, and I decide that at this point I need to figure out where that black quote is going to go that I cut up, and I want it at the top, so I'm going to put it there. Then that's going to help me decide where I want to put my circles. So now I'm looking through my black embellishments and stickers from Ali Edwards. I think I want to mimic those black word stickers, and because there is some black text underneath the photos and there's some black text at the top, I'm just kind of feeling like I need just a couple of word strips at the bottom. So I'll find some. These word strips are a little bit bigger. They have more black around them. So what I'm doing is just cutting off that black so it looks more like those pieces I cut at the top. And I'm just going to find a couple of phrases that work with my story and then put them down at the bottom. And I'm just going to put 2. So I often do things in 3s or 5s, but the quote at the top is 4 lines, and so I'm putting 2 little stickers at the bottom, and I think it works fine because there are 3 areas where the black is kind of popping. So I'm going to really play around with the arrangement of things quite a lot, but I decide that I need to go ahead and get my photo at least down so that I can continue on with my embellishment. So at this point I'm trying to decide, does the flower really work there anymore? Do I want to pop it up? Do I want the one and only to kind of like where the Y dips down? Do I want that to be to the right of the flower cluster? So I'm just kind of thinking of things like that. I got some foam adhesive or adhesive backed foam right here that it's craft foam. You can get it at any craft store. I got mine at Walmart actually. And it's adhesive on one side and then you just add adhesive to the other side. So here I'm kind of playing with the words, and I'm going to put it like that pretty much with the flower overlapping a little bit, but there's a little space below the word only now that I kind of feel like I need to put something there. It feels like an awkward trapped space. So for now, I'm going to put a white sticker because I have a little white chipboard piece at the bottom. And that's the only place where that color kind of shows up. And so I just want to include another little bit of white with text. So I'm going ahead and gluing things down. I kind of tuck the awesome memory circle underneath the right photo, and I'm overlapping some of these circles, and I'm going to put that heart U circle next to the little black strips at the bottom. At this point, I figured it was probably a good time for me to cut the branding strip off my paper. I usually do that sooner, but I didn't this time. And now I'm going to, again, start gluing things on. I decided also that I would put a third camera heart, the pink one, in the middle to the left of the photos. And so I will end up adding a couple things there just so that the line of circles carries all the way down that left-hand side. And I really like that. This is kind of a design that I use a lot, where I have my photos going one way and then there's like a scattering of embellishment down one side of the page. And I actually have a class coming out called Go To Designs that will hopefully be out in the next week or two. I taught it at the Scrap Gals retreats this year, and it went really well in person, and so I'm just formulating it for online now, and that should be coming out soon, where I talk a lot about designs that I go to over and over again. So again, I'm just gluing things down. It's going to take me a little bit. Now, I cut out this tiny little smiley face out of a journaling card, and I don't know if you can tell, but that circle, that chipboard circle at the bottom that's kind of white, it's kind of a grayish white, which is kind of like the background. It's a lighter shade of the background color. And so I'm trying to get the smiley face, which is a bright, stark white, to be a little bit more of that color, that grayish white. And so I just used an ink blending tool from Tim Holtz and a little bit of ink, just a little bit, and put it on that little smiley face to make it a little bit grayer or darker. This little lace vellum strip is from an old Felicity Jane kit, and I just thought it would be fun to include another layer, and so I'm going to put it below the photos. And I cut it before I should have, because I thought it was going to go on the side of the layers instead of on the bottom. So I just had to kind of piece it together, and it ends up working just fine. I find that you can often cut something to make it stretch across the layout in most occasions, especially if you have something that's going to cover the seam. So that awesome memory was a good circle there for me to be able to hide that behind. So I'm just using my Scotch quick dry adhesive in a Fineline bottle, and I am gluing down those word strips. That's my favorite thing, to adhere word strips, which I do a lot. If you've seen my channel, if you're new, welcome. I use my Fineline bottle on every layout, and if you're old, then you've seen this before. So here I'm just trying to, again, decide where am I going to put these circles. And what I like to do usually when I'm kind of scattering embellishments is I like to put some of them close together and then some off to the side. And I kind of want it to bounce back and forth. I don't want any of the circles to be really on the same vertical invisible line. I don't know if that makes sense, or horizontal either. So I've glued those down and I've trimmed off the edges on the top and bottom. Since I had the camera little circle going off on the top, I made sure I did the same on the bottom. And that just, when you interact with the edges, as Allie Edwards likes to say, it's a little bit more interesting, and it makes you feel like it continues on, carries your eye around. So I also put that circle in the middle, and then I put a little tiny rubber heart next to that left-hand photo as well. So I went ahead and typed up my journaling on my We Are Memory Keepers typecast typewriter, and I just cut it into strips using my scissors. And now I'm going to place all of these strips below my photos and see kind of where they land. And whenever I'm placing them like this, it's not really an accurate estimate of how long or how much room it will take up, because when I end up gluing them down, they can be closer than they are when I'm just setting them out here. And so I like the pop of the kind of brighter white against that grayish background. And even though I didn't like the bright pop of white with that little smiley face circle, I like to mimic things wherever I can. So this bright white mimics the bright white that's the sticker under the One and Only. So again, I'm using my Scotch quick dry adhesive to glue those down. And whenever I do journaling strips, I kind of like to bounce them back and forth. It just gives it a more natural feel. And as I mentioned before, with these doing layouts with journaling cards can get kind of boxy. And so bouncing my journaling like this and adding circles really helps it feel a little bit more loose, as well as the flowers, of course. So I'm thinking that those flowers look a little bit out of place. Like there's nothing else floral on here. What can I add? So I'm looking through my journaling cards because I thought I had another floral, which was that one I just held up, but it doesn't quite work for me. And so I'm going to search through my stuff, and I remembered I had this paper from My Mind's Eye, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous floral paper. I love it. And it has that peachy pink color of flower on it. So I'm going to fussy cut a few of those out. And really, besides the background paper, this is the only bit of patterned paper I'm using on this layout. But of course, you can see it has plenty of pattern and design. So I think it's pretty easy if you create layers to use up a bunch of your pocket page cards on one layout. So here I've cut out those flowers. I did 2 smaller and 1 larger, and I am cutting out some leaves using this punch that I got on clearance at Hobby Lobby, and I'm punching out some pink leaves, and the leaves on that middle flower that I cut out from the card have some pink leaves as well. So I'm just kind of trying to mimic that. I'm just playing around with placement, and it is different. They are different than that central cluster, but they are close enough and they mimic it enough that it ends up making it feel like it's not out of place. It makes it feel like it belongs. And just like that cluster I popped up, I will pop up each one of these flowers as well. With that flower I was placing on the left, I was trying to make sure not to cover up that whole black area because I want you to see that the card that's behind the photos carries over to the left-hand side. And so I was struggling with that a little bit. And in the end, only a tiny bit of that black shows, but I think it's enough for you to realize and understand. So I'm cutting some of these pieces a little bit smaller, and I'm just gluing them to the backs of the flowers. And I love this punch. I have used it several times. I will try to find it online and see if I can link to it. I haven't found it yet, but I will keep searching, and maybe you can find it somewhere. It punches out both that tiny leaf and then also a flower shape, which you can punch out a few times and layer up for an interesting flower. So maybe I'll show you that in a future video. But I just am keeping on gluing on those little leaves. I did 3 on the larger one and then 2 on the smaller one on the top. And I think I only did 1 on the bottom one. So now what I decided is I want to add some gold in, just another pop of something. So I'm using a technique that I used on the washi tape use it or lose it video, which is to put some of my glitter washi tape on some paper and punch some hearts out of it. So I really love the way that these little hearts just add that final little pop that this layout needed. And so I'm just going to kind of scatter them around my circles. And again, I'm trying to bounce back and forth. I'll put 2 close together and then 1 far apart from it. It's once you do this a lot, you kind of get the hang of the way that you like that it looks. That was an awful sentence, but I think you know what I mean. And you'll get better and better at just scattering things, even though we try to scatter things so they don't look forced, but they obviously are. So just trying to make sure I get some of those gold hearts everywhere, and I'm again just leaving them on the left-hand side of the layout. I did think about bringing one of the hearts over to the flower to the right of the title, but I decided that I just wanted to leave them on the left. So I'm just putting a tiny dot of glue and then pushing the little heart up against the glue that I laid down. And now I'm nearly done. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the date, and I'm just stamping the month and the year here and in black underneath my journaling. And then this layout's almost finished. I'm going to sprinkle some Heidi Swap Gold Color Shine to mimic those glittery hearts. And I'm just doing it very lightly. I mean, not humongous droplets. And I do scatter it a little bit over to the right because there are pink splatters there. For the final touch, I decide to add a little bow here. And now I'm going to show you some other ideas for using pocket page cards. Here's another one where I used a ton of them for layers. I cut some of them in half to make them stretch across. This one is again layers, and you can see that the cards are rounded. Here's a bunch of cards on the outsides of a page, and here I've used a bunch of cards trailing down the side of the layout. This is one of my favorite designs to do a strip across with the cards, and you can see I've done it here several times. There's another one just kind of layering them and shuffling them a little bit. Here's one where I cut the cards into triangles, and another where I've punched some cards into circles. Here's another one where I've punched cards into circles. And another one. I really like circles. And here's one where all of the elements on the page are hand cut out of different cards. Another one, the title is cut from a card. And then here is my other favorite, a grid. It works really well with 3x4 photos. In the next one, I've used 2 3x4 cards and 1 4x6 at the bottom to create a photo mat. Here's another style of grid going on all the sides of the photos. And here's one where the whole background is a grid at an angle. Here's another grid, 2 4x6 cards or 2 4x6 photos and 2 cards. And here's another grid. Grids work perfectly with these cards. As you can see, here's another. And then the next thing I tried was stacking some and stitching them into a little booklet for extra journaling. Here's another one where I've just tied a bunch together for extra journaling and photos. And then this one is one card that's folded in half with white paper inside, just stitched down to create a little book. And here's one where I've used a journaling card on the front of a greeting card. There are often cards like that you can use. So here are some photos again of the layout that I created today. And I want you to not forget, if you have items in your stash that you need to use or lose, leave a comment on this video or in the new Facebook group that I've created, and it may be in a future video. So here's the info about the Facebook group. It's called Crafty Use It or Lose It. You can search for it, or on social media, use the hashtag Crafty Use It or Lose It. I also wanted to mention that I have a playlist on YouTube that I did a while back, all about using these pocket page cards on layouts. There are 10 different videos, so that should give you some more ideas. I am definitely keeping my pocket page cards, but keeping them to a minimum using these 2 boxes, and every once in a while trying to go through my photos and pair them up with some of the cards like I did today. I hope that you've enjoyed, and let me know in the comments if you're going to use or lose your journaling cards. We'll see you again next week.